Mr. President, as if in legislative session, I'd like to make a unanimous consent request, and I ask unanimous consent that the Banking Committee be discharged from further consideration of S. 2919, the Small Business Lending Enhancement Act, and the Senate proceed to its immediate consideration, that a Udall of Colorado substitute amendment, which is at the desk, be agreed to, the bill as amended be read a third time and passed, and the motions to reconsider be laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.
Is there an objection?
I object.
Senator from Alabama objects.
Mr.
Objection
President,
is heard.
Mr. President,
Senator from Colorado.
if I might, I just, for the record, like to talk briefly about the legislation that I just asked for unanimous consent. This is a bipartisan bill. I filed it, and it's...
To object. And let me just ask the...
Objection has already been heard.
Well, there are two motions, but go ahead. I'm objecting to a discussion of the amendment at this time until I find out how long he's going to be.
Mr. President, I would ask unanimous consent that the senator from Colorado have 3 minutes to make his comment.
Fine.
Without objection?
I thank the senators for their courtesy. The reason that I've offered this consent agreement today is this would help literally hundreds of small businesses create hundreds of thousands of jobs at no cost to the American taxpayer. I did want to, in the spirit of bipartisanship, mention the co-sponsors of the bill. The co-sponsors start with the majority leader from Nevada, and then it's followed by Senators Snowe, Collins, Schumer, Boxer, Brown, Gillibrand, Inouye, Lieberman, Nelson of Florida, Bennett of Colorado, Sanders, and Wyden. And, Mr. President, the bill addresses a problem that everybody in the chamber agrees needs to be addressed, and that's the trouble that small businesses are having accessing capital so that they can then grow and create jobs. We just saw our unemployment rate inch up to 9.8% in November, and that's indicative of the fact that our economy is having trouble gaining traction. But we all know that if small businesses expand and grow, our economy will be getting back on track. So if I might, let me just tell you how this bill would help small businesses. Under current law, credit unions are doing what they can to help business interests and meet the demands of particularly family businesses, but they're constrained by an arbitrary cap on the size and amount of the loans that they can actually issue. And in every state, there are credit unions that would like to lend more. Responsibly, I should add, but they'd like to lend more. But the federal government gets in the way. And what this legislation would do would get the federal government out of the way and allow credit unions to help jumpstart the economy. Under current statute, credit unions are constrained to a 12.5%, I should correct myself, 12.25% of their total assets can be lent. And many credit unions have run up against that cap. So what this legislation would do, it would take the most experienced and well-run credit unions and allow them to meet the rising demand for small business loans. The National Credit Union Administration, which is the federal regulator, would have the authority to allow the small business lending cap to slowly increase from the current 12.25 limit to a maximum of 27.5% of total assets. Now, lest you think this has just been pulled out of thin air, the proposal has the backing of the Banking Committee, the Treasury Department, and the National Credit Union Association. It also has the National Small Business Association, the National Association of Realtors, and even the Conservative Americans for Tax Reform think this is a good idea. The Credit Union National Association projects that these reforms, they're sensible reforms, would increase small business lending by $10 billion within the first year, with an increase of nearly $200 million in my home state. I'm sure it would be similar to my good friend from Oklahoma State and all of the senators who serve in the Senate. It's also expected to increase 100,000 jobs nationwide.
Senator's time has expired.
Mr. President, this is disappointing. It's a shame that we can't move this important legislation forward. We should be helping our economy, yet we're embroiled here in obstruction. And I'm going to continue to fight for this. I hope other senators who are here today will join me in helping unleash the power of our credit unions to get Americans back to work. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.